This content is provided for educational and informational purposes only and does not constitute professional real estate, legal, financial, or investment advice. I am not a licensed real estate agent, broker, attorney, or financial advisor in the United States. The information shared in this video is based on personal research, experience, and publicly available resources. Real estate laws, marketing regulations, and licensing requirements vary by state and country. You should always consult with a licensed real estate professional or legal advisor before implementing any strategies discussed in this video. I make no guarantees regarding results, income, or lead generation performance. Your success depends on many factors including market conditions, effort, and experience. By watching this video, you agree that you are solely responsible for any decisions or actions you take based on this content. Did you know that homes with professional photos sell 32% faster? And for up to $11,000 more than homes with amateur shots? But here's the multi-million-dollar secret the pros don't want you to know. It's not about the camera. It's about the edit. I'm about to show you how to take a photo that looks dark, yellow, and uninviting, and in less than 5 minutes, turn it into a bright, vibrant, and stunning image that makes buyers stop scrolling and book a showing. You don't need a fancy camera, you don't need a degree in photography, and you definitely don't need to pay an expensive editor. All you need are the simple, powerful secrets I'm about to share. Now, before we dive in, a quick but critical word on ethics. Our goal here is to make a property look its absolute best, not to misrepresent it. We are enhancing, not deceiving. We're going to show the home in its most beautiful light, but we will never, ever move a permanent wall, remove a power line, or hide a major flaw in post-production. This guide is about professional presentation and ethical marketing, not false advertising. Okay, with that very important note out of the way, let's get into it. You've been there, right? You walk into a room and it's beautiful. The natural light is flooding in. The space feels open and welcoming. You pull out your camera, you snap a picture, and you feel great about it. But then you get it onto your computer and your heart sinks. The photo is garbage. The bright windows are completely blown out into a white abyss, while the corners of the room are lost in murky shadows. The clean white walls have a weird yellow or blue tint, and the whole room, which felt so spacious in person, suddenly looks cramped and distorted. The photo doesn't just fail to do the room justice. It actively makes it look worse. Why does this happen? It's not your fault. It's because your camera, no matter how expensive, is fundamentally dumb. It cannot see the world the way your incredible human eyes can. Your eyes can look at a bright window in a dark corner at the same time and see all the detail perfectly. This is called dynamic range. A camera simply can't handle it. It has to choose. Expose for the bright window and plunge the room into darkness, or expose for the room and turn the window into a nuclear blast of pure white. It's a lose-lose situation. Your camera also struggles with color. It tries to guess the correct color of the light in a room, and it almost always gets it wrong, resulting in those ugly color casts. The lens itself physically distorts the image, making straight lines look curved and bent. Your camera is giving you a flawed, broken starting point. The raw material is a lie. Our job as editors is to correct that lie and bring the image back to the truth of what it felt like to stand in that room. By the end of this video, you will have a simple, repeatable, step-by-step system to make your real estate photos look like they were shot for a magazine cover. I'm going to give you the exact framework that professional editors use to transform any photo from flat to fantastic. We're not just going to be randomly dragging sliders around hoping for the best. You will understand the why behind every single click. You will learn how to perfectly balance the light in a room, getting rid of those dark shadows and blown-out windows. You will learn how to fix the color, making whites look crisp and clean, and colors look rich and true to life. You will learn the secret to making your photos look incredibly sharp and three-dimensional, so they pop off the screen. And most importantly, you will learn how to do it all quickly and efficiently, so you can spend less time in front of your computer and more time selling houses. But to do that, you first need to understand the psychology of what makes someone click on a real estate photo. It boils down to 4 things: light, space, color, and clarity. First, light. Our brains are hardwired to be drawn to bright, well-lit spaces. It signals safety, cleanliness, and opportunity. Dark, shadowy photos trigger the opposite response. They feel cramped, dirty, and depressing. That's why our first and most important job in editing is to control the light. We need to make the image feel bright and airy, just like the ideal home. Second, space. Buyers are purchasing square footage. They want to see wide-open rooms. The lens on your camera naturally distorts the photo, making walls curve inward and making rooms feel smaller than they are. Correcting this distortion is a non-negotiable step that instantly makes a room feel bigger and more valuable. Third, color. The wrong color balance can kill a photo. A blue tint makes a home feel cold and sterile. A yellow tint makes it feel old and grimy. Achieving a perfect, natural white balance makes a home feel clean, fresh, and modern. It's a subconscious signal to the buyer that the home is well maintained. Finally, clarity. A soft, slightly out-of-focus image looks amateurish. A sharp, crisp image with clear details screams professionalism. It tells the buyer that you, the agent, are a professional who pays attention to detail. Every single editing move we make will be in service of one of these 4 psychological triggers. Now you might be thinking, don't I need an expensive camera and fancy lenses for this? Absolutely not. That is the biggest myth in this industry. A $10,000 camera will still give you a photo with blown-out windows and a bad color cast. The magic doesn't happen in the camera, it happens in the software. For this tutorial, we're going to be using Adobe Lightroom Classic. Why? Because it is the undisputed king of photo editing for professionals. It's incredibly powerful, it's fast, and most importantly, it's non-destructive. That means you can never, ever ruin your original photo. Every change you make is completely reversible. If you don't have Lightroom, don't worry. There are free alternatives out there like Darktable or Raw Therapy that have similar tools, and the principles I'm about to teach you will apply to any modern photo editing software. The tool is less important than the technique. So, how do we take these principles and turn them into a repeatable workflow? We use a simple 5-step framework. This is the exact order of operations the pros use on every single image. Sticking to this order is critical because each step builds upon the last. Step 1 is the foundation. This is where we correct the lens distortion and straighten all our lines. Getting the geometry of the room right is the first thing we must do before we touch color or light. Step 2 is the light. Here we tackle the dynamic range. We'll recover the details in those bright windows and lift the shadows in the dark corners, balancing the overall exposure to create a bright and even look. Step 3 is the color. This is where we fix the white balance, removing any unnatural color casts, and then making the true colors of the home pop in a natural, appealing way. Step 4 is the details. We'll add strategic sharpness and clarity to make the image look crisp and professional, drawing the viewer's eye to the key features of the room. And finally, step 5 is the finish. This is where we apply our final touches and export the photo with the perfect settings for the MLS, Zillow, and social media, ensuring it looks amazing on every platform. That's the entire roadmap, from a flawed camera file to a perfect, client-winning photograph. It's a system that takes the guesswork out of editing and gives you consistent, professional results every single time. So grab a photo, any real estate photo from your computer, I don't care how bad it is, and let's get started with the single most important step that 99% of beginners get wrong or skip entirely: laying the foundation. It's not about the exposure slider. It's not about saturation or contrast or any of the fun, flashy tools you see people using. The foundation is the boring stuff. It's the digital equivalent of pouring concrete and framing a house before you even think about paint colors or furniture. And just like building a house, if you get the foundation wrong, the entire structure will be weak, unstable, and it will just look off. So what is it? It's 2 things: lens corrections and geometry. Your camera lens, no matter how expensive it is not perfect. It's a curved piece of glass trying to capture a 3-dimensional world and flatten it onto a 2-dimensional sensor. This process creates subtle distortions. Lines that should be straight might have a slight curve. The corners of your image might be a little darker than the center. This is called vignetting. These are tiny imperfections, but they add up, and the human eye, which has been looking at straight lines in buildings its entire life, picks up on them subconsciously. It sends a signal to the brain that says, something isn't quite right here. This feels a little amateur. We're going to fix that with 2 clicks. Inside your editing software, and I'm using Adobe Lightroom, but this applies to virtually any pro-level program, you need to find a panel called Lens Corrections. The very first checkbox you should click on every single photo you ever edit for the rest of your life is Enable Profile Corrections. Boom! Watch the screen. See that? A subtle but significant shift. The software has a massive database of cameras and lenses. It knows the exact lens you used to take this photo, and it knows the precise, unique way that lens distorts reality. By clicking that one box, you've just applied a custom-made antidote to your lens's specific flaws. It counteracts the barrel distortion, flattens the lines and brightens those corners. It's the closest thing to a magic button in all of photo editing. Right below that, you'll see another checkbox. Remove chromatic aberration. What the heck is that? Have you ever looked at the edge of a window frame against a bright sky in a photo and seen a weird, thin line of purple or green? That's chromatic aberration. It's an optical flaw where the lens fails to focus all colors to the same point. It looks cheap and digital. Click that box. Gone. 2 clicks and we've just instantly elevated the baseline quality of this image. We've taken a photo and turned it into a technically more accurate photograph. But we're not done. That was the easy part. Now comes the part that truly separates the pros from the beginners. We need to fix the geometry. We need to straighten our lines. Go to your transform panel. This is where we control the perspective of the image. You'll see a bunch of sliders: vertical, horizontal, rotate, and so on. You'll also see a button that says Auto. Now you might be tempted to just click Auto and call it a day. And sometimes, maybe 20% of the time, it does a decent job. But most of the time, the computer gets it just a little bit wrong. It doesn't have human eyes. It can't understand the context of a room. So we're going to take control. We're going to use the most powerful tool in this entire panel, the guided upright tool. It looks like a little icon with lines on it. Click it. Your cursor will turn into a crosshair with a little magnifying glass. Here's the mission: you need to find at least 2 lines in your image that you know for a fact are supposed to be perfectly vertical in real life. The edge of a door frame, the corner of a wall, a window casing. Don't pick the leg of a chair that might be angled. Pick something architectural. Once you've found your first vertical line, click at the top of that line, hold the mouse button down, and drag it straight down to the bottom of that line. Let go. A dotted line will appear. Now the software knows, okay, this line he just drew? That's supposed to be perfectly vertical. Got it. But it needs more information. Find a second vertical line, preferably on the other side of the image to give the software a better sense of the entire space. Click, drag, and release. And then pop. The image snaps into place. Every vertical line in your photo is now perfectly mathematically straight up and down. Instantly, the room feels more stable, more grounded, more professional. It's a night and day difference. You've just told the software the rules of gravity for this room, and it has obeyed. But wait, there's more. Sometimes you'll need to define the horizontals too. Maybe the camera was tilted up or down, and the horizontal lines are converging. No problem. Find a line that's supposed to be perfectly horizontal. The top of a kitchen counter, the bottom of a window, a line in the flooring. Click and drag across it. You can draw up to 4 lines in total, 2 vertical and 2 horizontal, to give the software the most information possible. With each line you draw, the image gets more and more accurate. Now look at your photo. Compare it to the original. The original looks warped, distorted, like you're looking through a funhouse mirror. The corrected version looks solid. It looks real. It looks like a building, not a snapshot. This is the foundation. Every single thing we do from this point forward will be built on top of this geometrically perfect base. But what if you get it wrong? What if it looks weird? Sometimes, especially with very wide-angle lenses, a perfect geometric correction can make the image look stretched and unnatural. This is where the art comes in. The sliders in the transform panel are now your fine-tuning controls. If the room feels squashed, you can play with the aspect slider to stretch it vertically or horizontally. If the correction cropped in too much, you can use the scale slider to zoom out a bit and bring back the edges of your frame. A huge pro tip: your goal is not mathematical perfection. Your goal is to make it feel right. Sometimes, a perfectly vertical line can look a little off to the human eye. Don't be afraid to back off the correction slightly. Use the vertical slider and just nudge it a tiny bit to the left or right until it feels balanced and natural. Your eye is the ultimate judge. The tools get you 95% of the way there. Your artistic sense takes it across the finish line. So let's recap the foundation, the 3 non-negotiable steps for every single real estate photo. 1. Enable profile corrections to fix lens distortion. 2. Remove chromatic aberration to clean up the edges. 3. Use the guided upright tool to fix the geometry and make your verticals perfectly straight. Burn this into your brain. This is your new pre-flight checklist. Do this first every single time before you even think about touching brightness or color. Okay, take a look at our image. The bones are good. The skeleton is strong and standing up straight. But there's no life in it. It's technically correct, but it's emotionally dead. The windows are probably way too bright, maybe even pure white, and the corners of the room are dark and full of murky shadows. Doesn't feel inviting. It doesn't make you want to live there. We've fixed the skeleton, but the photo is still dead. It has no life, no dimension. In the next part, we're going to breathe life into it by mastering the one thing that separates amateurs from pros: dynamic range. I'm going to show you a simple technique to recover those blown-out windows and lift those dark, shadowy corners, making every room look bright, airy, and inviting, without it looking fake or over-edited. This is the secret to making a dark, dreary room look like it was flooded with beautiful, natural light, and it's easier than you think. The tool we're going to use is called the adjustment brush, and I want you to stop thinking of it as a complicated software feature. Instead, I want you to think of it as a digital paintbrush. But you're not painting with color. You're painting with light itself. This is where the artistry comes in. This is what separates a quick, sloppy edit from a professional, polished image that makes a buyer stop scrolling and say, "Wow, I need to see that house." So, why can't you just go over to the main panel and crank up the global shadows slider? It's a fair question. Every beginner does it. You see a dark photo, you find the slider that says shadows, and you slide it all the way to the right. And for a split second, it feels like magic. The dark corners get brighter. You can suddenly see the detail in that dark hardwood floor. But then you look closer. The whole image starts to look flat, washed out. It gets this weird, hazy, almost grayish tone over everything. The parts that were already bright enough now look overbright and strange, and the contrast that gave the room depth and dimension is just gone. You've basically taken a three-dimensional room and flattened it into a two-dimensional cartoon. It's the editing equivalent of turning on every single light in a room at full blast. It's bright, sure, but it has no mood, no shape, no appeal. It screams amateur edit. We're not going to do that. We are going to be surgical. We're going to be intentional. We're going to add light only where it's needed, just like a Hollywood lighting director would on a movie set. So let's grab our digital paintbrush. In Lightroom, you'll find it in the Develop module, usually represented by a little brush icon. Once you click it, a whole new panel of sliders appears. Don't be intimidated. We are only going to focus on 2, maybe 3 of these sliders for 90% of our shadow work. The first and most important is exposure. The second is shadows. Now wait a minute, you're thinking. You just told me not to use the shadows slider. And I did. I told you not to use the global shadows slider that affects the entire image. This one is different. This slider only affects the area where you paint with your brush. It's a local adjustment, not a global one. That is the key distinction. Let's set up our brush. I want you to start by pushing the exposure slider up to around plus 0.5. So plus 0.50. Then, push the shadow slider up to around plus 30 or plus 40. This is our starting point, our general purpose light painting brush. We can always adjust it later. Now look at your image. Identify the darkest parts of the room. It's almost always the corners of the ceiling, the area under a coffee table, the inside of a built-in bookshelf, or a hallway that's just off camera. These are our targets. These are the pockets of shadow that suck the life out of a room. Take your brush and simply start painting over one of those dark areas. Let's say it's the far corner of the living room. As you click and drag your mouse, you'll see that corner instantly get brighter. It's like you're shining a soft, invisible flashlight exactly where you want it. The key here is to be gentle. You're not trying to eliminate the shadow completely. Shadows are natural. They give a room shape and prove that it exists in the real world. We're just trying to soften it, to lift it, so it's no longer a dark, distracting void. We want a buyer's eye to glide smoothly through the room, not get stuck in a black hole in the corner. Paint over all those dark pockets, under the couch, behind the TV stand, the ceiling corners. As you paint, you'll see the room transform. It's not getting that flat, washed-out look. Instead, it's just opening up. It feels more balanced, more airy. The beautiful details you couldn't see before, like the pattern on the area rug under the table or the crown molding on the ceiling, are now visible and clear. But here's the pro tip that takes this from good to great. Layering. You'll notice that some shadows are darker than others. That dark hallway might be a level 10 shadow, while the area under the end table is only a level 3. If you use the same brush setting for both, the hallway might still be too dark, or the end table will look unnaturally bright. So what do? We use multiple brushes. After you've done your first pass with our general brush, you click New at the top of the brush panel. This creates a brand new clean brush. This is our heavy lifter brush. For this one, you might push the exposure up to +1, and the shadows up to +60. Now you take this stronger brush and you only paint in the absolute darkest parts of the image, that black hole of a hallway, or that deep-set window frame that's completely silhouetted. This targeted approach gives you an incredible amount of control. You're now using two different flashlights, a wide, soft one for the general room, and a focused, powerful beam for the problem areas. The result is a perfectly and believably lit room. It doesn't look edited. It just looks like it was shot on a perfect day by a photographer who had a master's understanding of light. And I've got one more trick for you. This one is a lifesaver, and it will keep you from wanting to throw your computer out the window. At the bottom of the brush panel, there's a little checkbox called Auto Mask. Turn it on. Please turn it on. Auto Mask is a magical little feature that tells Lightroom to intelligently detect edges. When you start painting, it looks at where you first clicked, let's say the dark wall in the corner, and it tries its best to only paint on other areas that are the same color and texture. What does this mean for you? It means you can paint along the edge where the dark wall meets the white ceiling trim, and the brush will magically stay on the wall. It won't spill over onto the trim. This saves you an insane amount of time trying to be perfectly precise with your mouse. It's not perfect, but it's an absolute game changer for getting clean, professional results quickly. So let's recap the process. 1. Create a new adjustment brush. 2. Set a moderate increase in exposure and shadows for your general pass. 3. Paint over all the medium dark areas to lift them gently. 4. Create a second, more powerful brush. 5. Use that stronger brush to target only the darkest black spots in the image. And 6. Use Auto Mask to help you stay within the lines and work faster. Go ahead and try it. Pull up a dark photo you've struggled with. Before, you probably saw it as a lost cause, but now you have the tools. You can see the path forward. You're not just a photo editor anymore. You're a painter of light. You're a problem solver. You are taking a flawed reality and revealing the beautiful potential within it. You are in control. Toggle that little / key to see the before and after. Look at that. The before is a room. The after is a home. It's inviting. It's bright. You can see every detail, every feature that makes the space special. And you did it without making it look fake. You've preserved the natural contrast and depth while eliminating the distracting, gloomy shadows. This is a foundational skill. Mastering this one technique will immediately elevate your photos by an order of magnitude. But now that we've solved the problem of light and shadow, a new, more subtle problem often reveals itself. Now that we can see everything in the room clearly, you might start to notice the colors look a little weird. The light coming from the window might look a little blue, while the light from the lamps in the room looks orange or yellow. The white walls might not look truly white. This is called a color cast, and it's the silent killer of great real estate photos. It's the next thing we need to conquer to go from beginner to pro, and it's exactly what we're going to tackle next. So, what exactly is a color cast and why does it happen? Imagine you're in a room painted a perfect neutral white. If you turn on an old-school incandescent light bulb, that warm yellowish light is going to bounce off the walls and make them look yellow. If you stand in that same room during the day but only get light from a north-facing window, the walls might take on a cool, bluish tint. Your brain is a supercomputer. It automatically corrects for this. It knows the wall is white, so it perceives it as white regardless of the light source. Your camera, however, is not a supercomputer. It's a very dumb, very literal machine. It sees the yellow light hitting the wall and says, "Yep, that's a yellow wall." It sees the blue light and says, "That's a blue wall." This discrepancy between what your camera sees and what is real is the color cast. And in real estate, this is a deal breaker. Accuracy is everything. The buyer looking at your photos online needs to see the true color of the paint, the true color of the hardwood floors, the true color of the kitchen cabinets. If you have a home with modern, chic, light gray walls but your photos have a warm color cast, those walls will look beige, dated, and dingy. You've just misrepresented the property and made a stylish home look old. Conversely, if you have a cozy living room with warm, inviting tones, but a blue color cast makes it look cold and sterile, you failed to communicate the home's best feature, its feeling. This isn't just about making a pretty picture, it's about telling the truth about the space. So how do we fix it? How do we tell the camera what our brain already knows? We use one of the most powerful and important tools in our editing software, white balance. Inside Lightroom, or whatever program you're using, you'll find two primary sliders for this: temperature and tint. Let's demystify these right now. Temperature is the most intuitive. It runs on a spectrum from blue to yellow. Sliding it to the left towards the blue cools the image down. Sliding it to the right towards the yellow warms it up. Think of it like the color of sunlight throughout the day. At high noon, the light is very neutral, maybe even a little cool and blue. As the sun sets, the light gets incredibly warm and golden yellow. The temperature slider is how you control that. If your photo looks too yellow because of indoor lighting, you slide it back towards blue to neutralize it. If it looks too cold and blue from window light, you slide it towards yellow to warm it up. The second slider is tint. This one runs from green to magenta. Now, you might not run into green or magenta casts as often, but they are insidious. They often come from cheap fluorescent lights, which can cast a sickly green hue, or sometimes from certain types of energy-saving bulbs. The tint slider is your weapon against these. If you see a subtle green tint in the skin tones or on the walls, pushing the slider towards magenta will cancel it out. Now you could just eyeball it. You could move these sliders back and forth until it looks right. And sometimes that works. But there is a much faster, much more accurate, and much more professional way to do this. And that is the white balance selector tool, which looks like a little eyedropper. This tool is your magic wand. It is perhaps the single most important tool for getting perfect color fast. Here's the concept behind it. You are going to find something in your photo that is supposed to be a neutral color, white, light gray, or medium gray, and you're going to click on it with the eyedropper. By doing this, you are telling the software, hey, listen up. This exact spot I'm clicking on, it has no color. It's neutral. Now, I want you to adjust the entire photo's temperature and tint so that this spot becomes perfectly neutral. The software then does the math instantly, neutralizing the color cast across the entire image in a single click. It's brilliant. But, and this is a huge but, where you click matters. This is the secret that separates the beginners from the pros. A beginner will hunt for the brightest, purest white in the image, like a window frame with sunlight blasting through it, and click there. This is a mistake. When a part of your photo is pure white, it's what we call blown out. There's no data there. It's just pure white light. Clicking on it gives the software no information to work with. The same goes for pure black. Don't click on a deep dark shadow. The pro move is to find a neutral surface in the midtones. You're looking for the Goldilocks spot. Not too bright, not too dark. A light gray wall is perfect. The side of a white kitchen cabinet that's not in direct light is fantastic. A white light switch plate or outlet cover is often a go-to for professionals. Find one of these neutral midtones, click it with the eyedropper, and watch the magic happen. The entire photo will snap into place, with clean whites and accurate colors. Now, 90% of the time, this one click will solve your color cast problem. But what about the other 10%? What happens when the situation is more complex? What if the white balance is technically correct but a specific color is just ugly? Maybe the lawn outside the window is an unnatural neon green, and it's casting a subtle green glow onto the curtains. Or maybe the home has dark, cherrywood floors that are casting a strong red tone onto the white baseboards. A global white balance adjustment won't fix this. If you try to correct that red on the baseboards by changing the overall white balance, you'll mess up every other color in the photo. For this, we need a more surgical tool. We need to go to the HSL/color panel. HSL stands for hue, saturation, and luminance. This panel lets you control each color individually. Think of it this way, hue is the actual color itself. You can take the reds and make them more orange or more magenta. Saturation is the intensity of that color. You can take the reds and make them more vibrant, or you can desaturate them all the way to gray. And luminance is the brightness of that color. You can make just the reds in your photo brighter or darker, without affecting any other color. So, in our example with the red cast from the cherry floors, we can go to the HSL panel, select the red channel, and simply pull the saturation slider down a little bit. We're turning down the volume of just the red, without touching anything else. Suddenly, that red cast on the baseboards disappears, but the blue sky outside the window and the green plant in the corner remain untouched. This is precision. This is control. But let's take it one step further. What's the single most common and difficult lighting problem in real estate photography? It's mixed lighting. You have a beautiful living room, and you have warm, cozy lamps turned on to make it feel inviting. But you also have huge windows letting in cool blue daylight. Now you have two different color temperatures fighting each other in the same photo. The area near the window looks blue, and the area near the lamp looks orange. If you use the eyedropper tool on the blue part, the orange part gets way too orange. If you use it on the orange part, the blue part gets way too blue. You can't win. This is where you graduate to the next level. You use local adjustments. Instead of changing the white balance for the whole photo, you're going to paint a different white balance onto specific parts of it. You can grab your adjustment brush, set its temperature slider to be cooler, and gently paint over the parts of the room lit by the warm lamp. Or you can do the opposite. Set the brush to be warmer and paint over the cool, blue light coming from the window. Your goal is to blend them, to create one cohesive, natural-looking light throughout the room. You are fooling the viewer into believing the light is even and perfect, when in reality it was a chaotic mix. This is the secret to high-end, magazine-quality interior shots. So, to recap our battle plan against color casts, start global then go local. Use the white balance eyedropper on a neutral midtone for a powerful one-click fix. If stubborn colors remain, use the HSL panel to surgically adjust the hue, saturation, or brightness of that specific color. And when faced with the ultimate challenge of mixed lighting, use local adjustment brushes to paint in different color temperatures, unifying the scene into a perfect, harmonious image. Now that our colors are accurate and true, the photo looks clean. But look closely at the edges of the frame. See how the walls and the door frames aren't perfectly straight? They might look a little bent or distorted. This isn't because the house was built crooked. It's an optical illusion caused by your camera lens. And if you don't fix it, your photo will scream amateur. Correcting these lines is the key to making your photos look architectural and professional. And that's our next mission. So let's get on that mission. We're going to step inside the digital darkroom and become architects of perception. In Lightroom, this magic happens in the Transform panel. It might look a little intimidating with all its sliders, but I promise you by the end of this it's going to be your best friend. Now your first instinct and everyone's first instinct is to look at that beautiful button that says Auto. It's tempting, right? One click and all your problems are solved. And sometimes if you're lucky it works pretty well. It analyzes the image and takes its best guess at what should be straight. So go ahead, click it. See what happens. For some photos, especially ones with very clear defined lines, it might get you 80% of the way there. But here's the pro secret. Auto is a great starting point, but it is a terrible finishing point. Relying on it is the fastest way to get a result that's just slightly off. It might overcorrect, making the room look stretched and weird. It might miss the most important lines altogether. It doesn't understand that the edge of that door frame is more important than the leg of a distant chair. You do. Your brain is infinitely more powerful than that Auto button. So we're going to use the tool the pros use. Right next to Auto, you'll see a few other options. The one we care about, the one that will change your life, is called Guided. It looks like a little grid with lines on it. This is your secret weapon. When you select the Guided tool, your cursor turns into a crosshair with a little magnifying glass. This tool does exactly what it says. You are going to guide the software. You're going to teach it what straight means in this specific photo. Here's how it works. Find a line in your photo that you know for a fact should be perfectly vertical. A door frame is perfect. The edge of a window. The corner of a room. Don't pick something small or indistinct. Pick a long, strong, confident line. Now, click at the very top of that line, hold the mouse button down, and drag it all the way to the bottom of that same line. As you drag, you'll see a line appear, following your cursor. Try to be as precise as you can. The little magnifying glass helps you nail it. Once you've traced that vertical line, let go of the mouse button. Okay, nothing happened, right? The photo looks the same. Don't panic. The software needs more information. It needs at least 2 lines to understand the perspective. So let's give it another one. Find a second strong vertical line, preferably on the other side of the image. Maybe it's the other side of the door frame or a bookshelf, or the edge of a kitchen cabinet. Once again, click at the top, drag to the bottom and release. And bam! Watch the magic happen. The instant you release that second line, Lightroom snaps the entire image into a perfect architecturally sound grid. Every single vertical line you drew is now perfectly 100% vertical. It's one of the most satisfying moments in photo editing. Suddenly, the room feels stable, grounded. It looks like it was built by a craftsman, not thrown together in a funhouse. For most interior shots, 2 vertical lines are all you need. But what if you have a photo where the horizontal lines are also out of whack? Maybe you were shooting slightly upwards at a kitchen counter, and the countertop line is receding weirdly. Simple. You can give the Guided tool more information. You can draw a third line along that countertop from left to right, and a fourth line maybe along the top of the cabinets. You can give it up to 4 guidelines, and with each one it gets smarter and the result gets more precise. Now, after the guided tool has done its heavy lifting, we can move to the fine-tuning stage using the sliders below. This is where you go from 95% perfect to 100% perfect. Let's quickly break them down. The vertical slider is like tilting your camera up or down after the fact. If you feel the room is leaning away from you or falling towards you, a tiny nudge of this slider will fix it. The horizontal slider is like swiveling your camera left or right. If one side of the room feels closer than the other, this slider will even it out. Rotate is simple. It turns the entire image, perfect for fixing a slightly crooked horizon in an exterior shot. Aspect is a bit different. It stretches the photo either vertically or horizontally. You'll use this very sparingly, but sometimes a lens can make a room look a little too squat or too tall, and a tiny adjustment here can restore the natural proportions. Scale is hugely important. When you straighten an image, the software has to warp and stretch the picture, which often leaves empty, transparent gaps around the edges. The scale slider lets you zoom in just enough to push all those empty gaps out of the frame. And that brings us to the most important checkbox in this entire panel. Constrain crop. Always have this box checked. When it's checked, it automatically crops away any of those empty, ugly gaps that are created when you straighten the image. If you uncheck it, you'll see the warped, twisted shape of your corrected photo and the blank canvas behind it. There is absolutely no reason to ever show that. So keep constrain crop checked, and let Lightroom handle the cleanup for you. So let's recap the professional workflow. Step 1. Click the guided tool. Step 2. Draw 2 or more guidelines on the strongest vertical and horizontal lines in your image. Step 3. Make sure constrain crop is checked. Step 4. Use the scale slider to make sure there are no weird, thin white edges, and then use the other sliders for tiny, micro adjustments until it feels perfect. Let's do a quick before and after. Just toggle the transform panel off and on. Look at that. Before, the walls were bowing in, the room felt distorted and a little nauseating. It was a snapshot. Now, with the lines corrected, it's an architectural photograph. It looks intentional. It feels solid, spacious, and professional. This isn't just a minor tweak. It's a fundamental change in the psychology of the image. You're telling the potential buyer that this home is strong, stable, and well-built, all through the subconscious power of straight lines. This single skill will elevate your photos more than almost any other edit. But now that we've fixed the building's foundation, we have another problem. The structure is perfect, the bones are strong, but the atmosphere is all wrong. Right now, our photo looks like it was taken on a gloomy, overcast day, even if it wasn't. The white walls have a sickly yellow cast from the indoor lights. The beautiful view outside the window is a giant blown-out white blob of pure light. The corners of the room are lost in murky, dark shadows. The photo is straight, but it's lifeless. It doesn't feel bright, it doesn't feel airy, it doesn't feel like a place you'd want to call home. How do we fix that? How do we take control of the light itself? We need to tell the camera what white actually looks like, and we need to balance the dark shadows with those bright highlights. This is the art of white balance and exposure, and mastering it is what truly separates the amateurs from the pros who get paid the big bucks. It's how you make a room feel not just accurate but inviting. And that is exactly what we're going to conquer next. So let's talk about the camera's biggest lie. Your camera is an incredible piece of technology, but it is a terrible judge of character. It doesn't know the difference between the warm, cozy glow of a living room lamp and the cold, sterile blue of an overcast day. It just sees light and makes a guess. And most of the time, that guess is wrong. This is why you take a picture of a beautiful beige living room and it comes out looking sickly and yellow. Or why a pristine white kitchen suddenly has a weird blue tint. Your brain automatically corrects for these color casts in real time. The camera doesn't. It just records the raw data. And that, my friends, is where we, the editors, step in to tell the truth. This process starts with white balance. Think of it as the color foundation of your entire photograph. If you get this wrong, nothing else you do will look right. You can have perfect exposure, perfect sharpness, but if the walls look orange, the whole photo is a failure. Now, inside Lightroom or whatever software you're using, you'll see two primary sliders for this: temperature and tint. Don't let the names intimidate you. They are incredibly simple. The temperature slider controls the spectrum from blue to yellow. That's it. If your image is too yellow or orange because of indoor lighting, you slide it to the left towards the blue to neutralize it. If your image is too blue, maybe from shooting in the shade on a sunny day, you slide it to the right towards the yellow to warm it up. This one slider is responsible for fixing probably 80% of all color problems in real estate photos. It is your number one weapon. The tint slider handles the other axis, green to magenta. Now, this one is used less often, but it's just as critical. Sometimes, cheap LED bulbs or fluorescent lights will cast a nasty green hue over everything. It's subtle, but it makes a room feel like a hospital waiting room. In that case, you nudge the tint slider to the right towards magenta to cancel out that green. On the flip side, you might occasionally see a magenta cast, which you'd fix by sliding it towards green. The goal here is to find the neutral point. Now, you could just eyeball this, and with practice you'll get very good at it. But there is a secret weapon, a cheat code built right into the software, the white balance selector or the eyedropper tool. This little tool is your best friend. You click on it, and then you find something in your image that is supposed to be a neutral color, a white wall, a gray countertop, a white light switch plate. You click on that spot in BAM. The software instantly analyzes that point and adjusts the temperature and tint sliders to make that spot perfectly neutral. It's an incredible starting point that gets you 95% of the way there in a single click. But here's the pro tip. Never stop there. The technically correct white balance isn't always the emotionally correct white balance. After using the eyedropper, I almost always make a final subtle adjustment by eye. I might warm it up just a tiny bit more to make a living room feel cozier, or cool it down a fraction to make a modern kitchen feel more crisp and clean. The machine gets you to neutral, the artist gets you to inviting. Okay, so you've nailed the color. The sickly yellow is gone. The weird blue tint has vanished. The room now has accurate color. But it's still dark and gloomy. The windows are so bright they look like portals to another dimension. And the corner behind the sofa is a black void where detail goes to die. You've fixed the color, but you haven't fixed the light. This is the second pillar of a great edit. Exposure. Exposure is simply the overall brightness of your image. And your first instinct might be to just grab that main exposure slider and crank it to the right. And for a second it looks great. The dark corners get brighter, but wait. The window is now a completely white, blown-out mess. You've lost every single bit of detail outside. You've traded one problem for another. This is the fundamental challenge of real estate photography. Dynamic range. The difference between the brightest part of your scene, the window, and the darkest part, the corner, is often too vast for the camera to capture in one shot. So, how do the pros solve this? They don't just rely on the main exposure slider. They use a team of surgical tools that work together. Let's call them the Dynamic Range Dream Team. Highlights, shadows, whites, and blacks. Mastering these 4 sliders is the absolute key to creating a bright, airy, and balanced image. Let's break them down. First, the highlight slider. This is your window saver. It specifically targets only the brightest areas of your photo. So when your window is blown out, you don't touch the main exposure. You grab the highlight slider and pull it all the way to the left. Watch what happens. Magically, the detail comes flooding back. You can suddenly see the clouds, the trees, the house next door. You've rescued the view without making the rest of the room darker. It is pure magic. Next up is its opposite, the shadows slider. This is your dark corner destroyer. It does the exact opposite of the highlight slider, targeting only the darkest parts of the image. That corner that looked like a black hole? Grab the shadows slider and push it to the right. Like a miracle, the detail emerges from the darkness. You can see the texture of the carpet, the leg of the end table, the baseboard. And the most beautiful part is, it does this without affecting the bright parts of the image. The window stays perfectly exposed. You see the power here? Instead of one clumsy hammer, the exposure slider, you have these 2 scalpels, allowing you to independently control the brightest and darkest parts of your image. This is the core technique. In almost every single interior photo I edit, my first moves after white balance are to pull the highlights down and push the shadows up. But we're not done. We have 2 more tools, the whites and the blacks. These are different from highlights and shadows. They are more powerful and a little more dangerous. Think of the white slider as setting the absolute brightest possible point in your entire image. Pushing this slider to the right makes the white trim on the walls, the white lampshades, the white cabinets truly pop. It adds sparkle and life. But be careful. Push it too far and you'll start to clip your whites, which is just another way of saying you're blowing them out and losing detail, the very thing we were trying to avoid. A good trick is to hold the Alt or Option key while you drag the slider. Your screen will turn black, and it will show you exactly which parts of the image are becoming pure white. A few little specks are okay, but you don't want large areas to be clipped. Finally, we have the black slider. This sets the absolute darkest point in your image. It's your anchor for contrast and richness. If you lift your shadows too much, an image can start to look flat and washed out. By pulling the black slider a little to the left, you reintroduce a true black point. This adds depth, punch, and makes the colors feel richer. It's what keeps your photo from looking like a faded, hazy dream. Just like with the whites, you can hold Alt or Option to see what you're clipping, ensuring you don't crush all the detail in your dark areas into a formless blob. So let's put it all together. The workflow is simple and repeatable. Step 1. Set your white balance with the eyedropper, then tweak it by eye. Step 2. Bring the highlights all the way down to save the windows. Step 3. Push the shadows up to reveal the detail in the dark areas. Step 4. Nudge the main exposure slider to find the perfect overall brightness for the room. Step 5. Push the white slider to make the image sparkle and pop. Step 6. Pull the black slider down to add richness and contrast. Highlights down, shadows up. Whites up, blacks down. This is the mantra. This 4-point push and pull is the engine of professional real estate photo editing. It's how you take a single, flat, boring photo and transform it into a bright, balanced, and dynamic image that truly represents the beauty of the space. Now the image is looking fantastic. The color is accurate and inviting. The exposure is balanced from the darkest corner to the brightest window. We have a technically perfect photograph, but it's still missing something. It looks clean, but it doesn't look crisp. It has brightness, but it lacks punch. It's missing that final 10% of professional polish that makes a potential homebuyer stop scrolling and say, wow. That magic touch comes from a different set of tools, the ones that control texture, clarity, and that amazing, almost 3D pop. And mastering that final polish is what we're going to tackle next. These tools, texture, clarity, and dehaze are like the salt, fat, and acid of photo editing. Separately, they do one thing. But when you learn how to balance them, you create a flavor, a feeling that's impossible to ignore. They live right here in Lightroom's basic panel, usually tucked away under presence. And most beginners either ignore them completely or, even worse, they abuse them. They see that slider, they crank it to 100, and they destroy their image, turning a beautiful home into a gritty, overprocessed cartoon. We're not going to do that. We're going to use them with the precision of a surgeon. Let's start with the most subtle of the three, the texture slider. Think of texture as your fine detail enhancer. It operates on a micro level. It's not looking at the big shapes in your room. It's looking for the tiny, high-frequency patterns. The grain in a hardwood floor. The weave of a throw blanket on a couch. The subtle pattern in a granite countertop. When you gently increase the texture, you're telling Lightroom, find these tiny details and make them just a little more pronounced. Look at this kitchen photo. We've already corrected our geometry, our white balance, our exposure. It looks good. It looks accurate. But it's a little flat. The cabinets, which I know in person have this beautiful subtle wood grain, just look like brown rectangles. Now watch. I'm going to grab the texture slider and slowly move it to the right. See that? I'm only at plus 15. It's not a dramatic night and day change from a distance. But look closer at the cabinets. Suddenly, you can see the life in the wood. The countertop, which was just a gray surface, now has depth and character. This is what texture does. It adds tactile reality to your photo. It makes the viewer feel like they could reach out and touch the surfaces. Now here's the trap. The beginner sees this and thinks, wow, if a little is good, a lot must be amazing. And they do this. They crank the texture slider all the way to plus 100. And look what happens. The entire image becomes a crunchy, gritty mess. Every surface looks like it's been covered in sand. The edges of things look weird and over-sharpened. It's a digital artifact nightmare. This is not professional. This is the first thing that signals an amateur edit. My rule for texture? I rarely go above plus 20 or 25. It's a scalpel, not a sledgehammer. You want to add a whisper of detail, not a shout. Okay, so if texture is for the tiny details, what about clarity? Let's move to the next slider down. Clarity is texture's bigger, bolder brother. Instead of focusing on the tiny, fine-grained details, clarity works on mid-tone contrast. In simple terms, it finds the edges of larger objects in your photo and makes them punchier. It adds definition and structure to the overall image. If texture is a fine-tipped pen, clarity is a chisel. Let's go to this living room shot. Again, it's a good, clean photo, but the furniture feels a little soft. It doesn't have that solid presence. I'm going to add a little bit of clarity. Watch the couch, the coffee table, the lamp. As I push it to +20, see that? The objects feel more three-dimensional. They seem to separate from the background a little more. The whole room feels less like a flat picture and more like a space you can walk into. It adds a certain kind of gravitas to the image. And just like texture, clarity has a dark side. It is incredibly easy to overdo it. Pushing the clarity slider too far is the hallmark of that early 2010s, over-the-top HDR look that we all want to forget. Let me show you. If I crank this to +100, yikes. The shadows become muddy, we get these ugly dark halos around the edges of the furniture, and the whole thing looks grungy and depressing. It looks less like a beautiful home and more like a scene from a gritty crime drama. You have to be so careful. A little bit of clarity adds punch. Too much clarity punches your viewer in the face. For interiors, I'm often in the +10 to +15 range. Just enough to give the shape some definition without making it look processed. So you have texture for the fine surfaces and clarity for the larger shapes. How do they work together? Beautifully. This is where the artistry comes in. You learn to balance them. For a room with lots of natural materials, like a rustic kitchen with a butcher block island and a stone backsplash, I might lean a little more on the texture slider to bring out all those organic details. For a very modern, minimalist space with clean lines and simple furniture, I might use a little more clarity to emphasize the strong geometric shapes. Most of the time, I use a little bit of both. I'll add maybe +15 on the texture to get the floors and fabrics looking right, and then I'll add +10 on the clarity to make the whole scene pop. It's a dance, and the goal is for no one to even notice you were dancing. The final image should just look crisp, clear, and inviting. Now for the secret weapon, the one that, when used correctly, is pure magic. That's the dehaze slider. As the name suggests, this tool was originally designed for landscape photographers to cut through atmospheric haze on a foggy day. But for interior real estate photography, it does something incredible. It adds a rich, clean contrast and saturation without the grunginess of the clarity slider. It's like wiping a slightly dirty window. You didn't even realize the view was hazy until it was suddenly crystal clear. Let's take this bedroom photo. It's nice, bright, the colors are accurate. But watch what happens when I take the dehaze slider and just nudge it to +8. Did you see that? It's subtle, but it's powerful. The blues in the comforter got richer. The whites of the trim got a little brighter. The shadows deepened just slightly, adding dimension. The entire image just snapped into a new level of vibrancy and clarity. It removes a milky or flat quality that can sometimes happen, even in a well-exposed photo. Dehaze is, without a doubt, the most powerful and therefore the most dangerous of these three tools. If you abuse texture or clarity, your photo looks gritty. If you abuse dehaze, your photo looks like an alien planet. Pushing this slider too far will create bizarre color shifts, crush your blacks into oblivion, and make everything look radioactive. Look what happens if I push it to +50. The walls are turning cyan, the shadows are pure black holes, and the whole thing is just a disaster. Here is the single most important rule I can give you for this tool. For interior photos, my dehaze slider almost never ever goes into double digits. I live in the +4 to +9 range. That's it. It is an incredibly sensitive tool. A tiny little bump is all you need to add that final layer of professional polish, that last little bit of contrast and color richness that makes the image sing. Think of it like adding a single drop of a potent spice to a huge pot of soup. You don't need much to transform the entire flavor. So let's put it all together. Here's our final workflow for this finishing step. We have our image, fully corrected for lens distortions, verticals, white balance, and exposure. It's the perfect canvas. First, I zoom into an area with important detail like the grain on these hardwood floors. I'll add texture, just enough to make that grain visible and appealing. Maybe +18. Perfect. Second, I zoom back out to see the whole room. I'll add a touch of clarity to give the furniture and the architecture some weight. Not too much. Let's try +12. Yes, that gives it a nice solid feel without looking processed. Finally, the magic touch. I'll take the dehaze slider and gently push it to the right, watching the whole image. +5, +6, +7. Right there. That's the spot. The colors are now rich but still natural. There's a beautiful contrast, and the whole image has a clean, crisp vibrancy. Compare this to where we started. The before was a good, technically correct photo. The after is a photo that sells a lifestyle. It has depth, character, and an almost hyper-realistic quality that makes you want to be there. This is the difference between taking a picture of a house and creating an image of a home. But even with this incredible polish, we're not quite done. Look closely. There's a small scuff mark on the baseboard. There's a distracting reflection in the glass of that picture frame. A true professional edit isn't just about making things look good. It's about making them look perfect. And achieving that level of perfection means we need to move from these global, image-wide adjustments to the microscopic, targeted world of spot removal, cloning, and healing. It's time to play digital janitor. This is where the real magic happens. It's the difference between a photo that's good enough and a photo that sells a lifestyle. Because every home, no matter how pristine, has tiny imperfections. Nail holes from old pictures, scuff marks on the baseboards, a distracting weed in an otherwise perfect lawn. Our job isn't to pretend they don't exist. It's to ensure they don't distract a potential buyer from seeing the home's true potential. We're going to be working with 3 primary tools, each with its own superpower. Think of them as a team. First, you have the spot healing brush. This is your quick and dirty point-and-click problem solver. Then there's the healing brush, which offers more control. And finally, the big gun, the clone stamp tool, for when you need surgical precision. Let's start with the easiest one, the spot healing brush. Its genius lies in its simplicity. You don't have to tell it what to do, it just knows. It uses a content-aware algorithm, which is a fancy way of saying it analyzes the pixels around the area you click on and intelligently generates a patch to cover the blemish. Imagine a beautiful, clean white wall, with one single ugly nail hole right in the middle. This is a perfect job for the spot healing brush. You simply adjust your brush size so it's just a little bit bigger than the hole, you click once, and poof, it's gone. The software looks at the clean white wall around it and fills the hole with more clean white wall. It's incredibly satisfying. This works for dust spots on your camera sensor, minor blemishes on a countertop, or a small dark spot on a hardwood floor. For small, isolated problems surrounded by a clean, consistent texture, the spot healing brush is your best friend. It's fast, it's effective, and it feels like cheating. But what happens when the computer's guess isn't good enough? What if that nail hole is right next to the edge of a door frame? If you use the spot healing brush, it might get confused. It might sample some of the wood from the door frame and try to blend it into the wall, creating a weird, smudgy mess. The algorithm is smart, but it's not a mind reader. This is where you need to step in and take control. And for that, we use the healing brush. The healing brush is the spot healing brush's older, wiser sibling. It does the same job, blending texture, light, and color to fix imperfections, but with one crucial difference. You tell it where to sample from. You hold down a key, usually Alt or Option, and you click on a source area. This is the clean, perfect part of the image you want to use as a patch. Then you let go of the key and simply paint over the problem area. As you paint, you're essentially painting with the texture and color from your source point, but the tool is intelligently blending it with the lighting and tone of the destination. Let's go back to that nail hole next to the door frame. With the healing brush, you'd select a source point from the clean wall, a few inches away from both the hole and the frame. Now, when you paint over the hole, the tool knows you only want to use the clean wall texture. It completely ignores the door frame, giving you a perfect, seamless patch right up to the edge. This is your go-to for removing things like light switches or outlets from a kitchen backsplash. You sample a clean piece of tile, and then you paint over the outlet, making sure to line up the grout lines. It requires a little more thought, but the control you gain is immense. Now, sometimes blending isn't what you want. Sometimes you need an exact pixel-for-pixel copy. You don't want the software to interpret anything. You want it to clone. And for that, we bring out the clone stamp tool. The clone stamp is the original. It's the OG of photo retouching. And it's still one of the most powerful tools in your arsenal. Unlike the healing brushes, it doesn't try to blend lighting or color. It makes a direct, one-to-one copy of your source point. Think of it less like a magic healing wand and more like a high-tech rubber stamp. When would you use this? Imagine a house with beautiful vinyl siding, but there's a distracting security camera mounted on the wall. The healing brushes would struggle here. They would try to blend the area, smudging the sharp, repeating lines of the siding. With the clone stamp, you can select a clean section of siding as your source, making sure to line up the horizontal pattern perfectly, and then paint directly over the camera. You are literally rebuilding the wall piece by piece, with a perfect copy of the existing siding. Another classic example is fixing a lawn. Let's say there's a big ugly brown patch in the grass. The healing brush might work, but it can sometimes create a soft, unnatural look. With the clone stamp, you can sample a lush, green patch of grass and literally paint new, healthy grass over the brown spot. By using a soft-edged brush and varying your source point frequently, You can rebuild a lawn so seamlessly no one would ever know the difference. So let's recap the strategy. For small, isolated spots, start with the spot healing brush. It's the fastest. If it doesn't work or creates a smudge, undo and switch to the healing brush for more control. And if you need to rebuild a pattern, a hard edge, or need an exact copy without any blending, the clone stamp is your weapon of choice. Now, this power comes with a very important responsibility. We need to have a quick but serious talk about the ethics of this. Our goal as real estate photographers is to showcase a property in its absolute best light, not to misrepresent it. So where do we draw the line? Here's my rule of thumb. If it's temporary, it's fair game. A dirty spot on the carpet that can be cleaned? Remove it. Those brown patches in the lawn from the dog? Fix them, the grass will grow back. The kids' fingerprints all over the stainless steel fridge? Wipe them away digitally. Nail holes from pictures the seller has already taken down? Patch them. You are removing distractions and showing the home's potential. However, if it's a permanent feature or a genuine flaw, you must leave it alone. A large crack in the ceiling? That stays. A discolored patch of wall from an old water leak? That stays. A view of a power plant from the master bedroom window? That absolutely stays. Removing these things isn't just unethical, it's fraudulent. You're selling the house, not a fantasy. Your job is to make the existing house look amazing, not to create a different house altogether. The gray area is things like power lines or a neighbor's messy yard. My advice is to always ask the real estate agent or the broker. They have legal standards to uphold, and they will tell you what's acceptable in your market. When in doubt, leave it in. Your reputation for honesty is far more valuable than one perfect photo. By mastering these cleanup tools, you're doing more than just removing blemishes. You're taking control of the viewer's eye. You're telling them what to look at. The beautiful granite countertops, the stunning view, the spacious layout. By removing the little things that would pull their attention away, you're cleaning the canvas so the masterpiece can shine through. We've now corrected the foundation of our image, we've dialed in the color and exposure, and we've meticulously cleaned up every last distracting detail. The photo is technically excellent. It's clean, it's accurate, and it's bright. But it's not quite a work of art yet. It's missing that final 10% of wow factor. It's missing the punch, the professional polish that makes an image jump off the screen and grab a buyer by the collar. That final layer of sharpening, contrast, and artistic touch is what separates the pros from everyone else. And that's exactly where we're headed next. So let's talk about the final 5%, because that's what we're doing now. We've done the heavy lifting, the exposure, the color, the geometry. That was 95% of the work. But this last 5%, this is the magic. This is the difference between a photo that is technically correct and a photo that sells a house. It's the detail, the punch, the ineffable wow factor. First up is sharpening. Now, most beginners hear sharpening, and they just find the sharpening slider and crank it up. The result? A crunchy, grainy, digital-looking mess. It screams amateur. A pro doesn't just sharpen. A pro sharpens with surgical precision. We're not trying to sharpen the flat, clean surface of a wall, or the smooth gradient of a sky. That just introduces noise. We want to sharpen the edges. The place where the dark countertop meets the light cabinet. The lines of the window frame. The texture in the hardwood floor. Think of it like this. You're tracing the important lines of the room with a very fine, sharp pencil to make them stand out. The tool for this, in most software like Lightroom, is the masking slider, which is usually found right under the main sharpening controls. If you hold down a key, usually Alt or Option, while you drag this slider, your screen will turn black and white. Everything that's white is being sharpened. Everything that's black is being protected. Your goal is to slide it up until only the edges and detailed textures of the image are white. The smooth walls, the empty spaces, they should all be black, shielded from the sharpening effect. When you let go, you might not see a dramatic night and day difference. And that's the point. It's a subtle subconscious effect. The image just feels more crisp, more defined, more real without looking over-processed. It's the first layer of professional polish. Next, we move to a related but distinct set of tools: clarity and texture. These are two of the most powerful and most abused sliders in modern photo editing. Let's break them down. The texture slider is for micro-contrast. It targets the very fine details. Think about the grain in a wooden cabinet, the weave of a fabric armchair, or the grout lines in a tile backsplash. A little nudge of the texture slider can make these elements pop. giving the image a tangible, tactile feel. It makes the viewer feel like they could reach out and touch those surfaces. Clarity, on the other hand, works on a larger scale. It's a mid-tone contrast adjustment. It doesn't care about the tiny little wood grains. It cares about the larger shapes and forms in your image. Adding a touch of clarity can give your photo a sense of depth and three-dimensionality. It can make a room feel less flat and more substantial. But here's the warning, and please listen closely. These sliders are like salt. A little bit enhances the flavor. Too much ruins the entire dish. A common beginner mistake is to think more is better and crank up the clarity. This creates ugly, dark halos around objects and gives the photo a gritty, grungy look that is the absolute opposite of the bright, clean, and airy feel we want for real estate. My rule is this: push the slider up until you think it looks good, and then back it off by about a third. Subtlety is the name of the game. We're adding a pinch of texture to the floors and furniture, a dash of clarity to the overall scene, and that's it. Now for a slider that many people think is only for landscape photos: dehaze. The name is misleading. You might think, well, my interior shot isn't hazy, so I'll just skip it. Don't. A tiny, and I mean tiny, amount of dehaze can do wonders for an interior photo. Adding just a +5 or +8 on the dehaze slider can add a beautiful richness and saturation to your colors without making them look cartoonish. It deepens the blacks, cleans up any lingering atmospheric softness from the light bouncing around, and adds a level of contrast that feels incredibly clean and premium. It's like a secret weapon for adding punch to your image. Again, go too far and it will look dark and dramatic like a movie poster. But just a touch? It's the digital equivalent of wiping a slightly dusty window clean to see the view more clearly. Okay, deep breath. We've added our sharpening, our texture, our clarity, our secret sauce dehaze. The image is looking crisp and vibrant. But there's one more technical correction we absolutely must make. And it's one that separates the pros from the people who just don't know any better. We need to enable lens corrections. Here's the deal. No camera lens is perfect. Every single one, from a $10,000 professional lens to the one on your smartphone, introduces some level of distortion. It might make straight lines bow outward slightly, in what's called barrel distortion. It might also create something called chromatic aberration, tiny, weird-looking purple or green color fringes along high-contrast edges, like a window frame against a bright sky. Your eyes might not consciously notice it at first, but your brain does. It registers that something is slightly off. Luckily, fixing this is usually the easiest part of the entire edit. In virtually all editing software, there's a panel called Lens Corrections, or something similar. In that panel, there are usually two checkboxes. One says Enable Profile Corrections, and the other says Remove Chromatic Aberration. You need to check both. The software has a database of thousands of lenses. It will read your photo's data, identify the exact camera and lens you used, and automatically apply a custom-made fix to counteract its specific, known flaws. With 2 clicks, you straighten those subtly bowed lines and eliminate those distracting color fringes. It's a simple automated step that instantly makes your photograph more geometrically perfect and optically clean. Skipping this is like building a beautiful custom car but forgetting to wash the windows. It's a small thing that makes a huge difference in the final presentation. Finally, we arrive at the last most artistic touch, the vignette. Now, I know what you might be thinking. A vignette? That dark, moody shadow in the corners? Isn't that for old-timey portraits? Yes and no. A heavy, obvious vignette is a stylistic choice that has no place in real estate photography. But a subtle, gentle, almost imperceptible vignette is a powerful psychological tool. Its purpose is to gently guide the viewer's eye. By making the very edges and corners of the frame a fraction of a percent darker, you create a natural visual funnel that pushes the viewer's attention towards the center of the image, towards the heart of the room, the beautiful kitchen island, the cozy fireplace. The key here is that it should be felt, not seen. If a potential buyer looks at the photo and thinks, "Oh, there's a vignette on this picture," you have failed. You've gone way too far. You want to apply it so subtly that no one would ever consciously notice it's there. But their eyes will naturally be drawn inward, focusing on what you want them to focus on. It's a classic technique from the old masters of painting, repurposed for the digital age. It's the final frame on our masterpiece. So now look at the image. Look at what we've done in just this section. We took a photo that was already well corrected and we breathed life into it. We used masked sharpening to make the details crisp without adding noise. We added a touch of texture and clarity to give it dimension and a tactile feel. We used a whisper of dehaze to enrich the colors and add punch. We applied lens corrections to perfect the optics and geometry. And we used a subtle vignette to focus the viewer's attention. This is that final polish. This is what makes an image jump off the screen. We've done it. We have created a single, perfect, magazine-quality real estate photograph. We took a raw, imperfect file and we molded it, shaped it, and polished it into a powerful marketing tool. But here's the final challenge, the one that every working professional has to solve. It's great to perfect one photo, but a real estate listing needs 15, 20, sometimes 30 photos. And they all need to look like they belong together. They need to have a consistent look and feel. Doing this entire process manually for every single photo would take hours, if not days. So how do we take the work we've done on this one perfect image and apply it across an entire photo shoot in just a matter of minutes? How do we build an army from our one perfect soldier? That process, batch editing and exporting for the web, is the final piece of the puzzle, and it's where we're going next. Welcome to the Command Center. This is where the magic of efficiency happens, where you transform from a photo editor into a production powerhouse. We have our one perfect soldier, our master image, dialed in and ready for battle. Now we need to clone its abilities, its strengths, its perfect settings, and apply them to the rest of the army, all those other photos from the same room shot in the same light. In Lightroom, this process is called syncing, and it's almost laughably easy. First, make sure you're in the Develop module and your master image, the one you just perfected, is selected. You'll see it highlighted. Now, hold down the Control key or Command on a Mac, and click on the other images in the film strip at the bottom that were taken in the same conditions. This could be 3, 5, even 10 other angles of the same living room. Once they're all selected, with your master image still being the primary one, look over to the bottom right of your screen. You'll see a button that says Sync. Click it. A dialog box will pop up and it looks intimidating. It's a giant checklist of every single adjustment you can possibly make in Lightroom. Don't panic. This is your control panel for the cloning process. You get to choose exactly which attributes you want to copy over. For our purposes, we want to copy almost everything. We want the white balance, the basic tone adjustments like exposure, contrast, highlights, and shadows. We want the presence settings like texture and clarity. We want the color adjustments from the HSL panel. So a simple way to start is to click the Check All button. But, and this is a pro tip, we need to uncheck a few things. Look for crop, spot removal, and any local adjustments like the brush or gradient filters we discussed. Why? Because the crop for your wide shot will be different from the crop for your detail shot of the fireplace. The little dust spot you removed from the floor in one image might not exist in another. And the brush you use to brighten one specific dark corner won't apply to the other angles. We want to sync the global adjustments, the overall recipe for light and color, not the specific localized fixes. So uncheck those few boxes. Then you take a deep breath and you click the magic button, Synchronize. And just like that, watch your film strip. One by one, you'll see the other images instantly transform, snapping into place with the same beautiful, bright, and vibrant look as your master image. What would have taken you another hour of meticulous repetitive work just happened in 3 seconds. This is not a shortcut. This is the professional workflow. This is how you edit a 25 photo shoot in an hour, not a full day. This is how you make money in this business. Now, is it always perfect? No, the real world isn't that clean. After syncing, your next step is a quick quality control pass. Click through each of the newly synced photos one by one. Does this one look a little too bright because it's pointed more directly at a window? No problem. Just slide the exposure down a tiny bit. Is the white balance on this one slightly off because of a weird reflection? A quick click with the eyedropper fixes it. You're not re-editing the photo from scratch. You're making micro adjustments to a baseline that is already 98% of the way there. You're the general, walking the line and making sure every soldier's uniform is perfect. What about a completely different room? Let's say you move from the bright, sun-drenched living room into a small dark bathroom with no windows and tungsten light bulbs. You can't just sync the living room settings here. It would look like a disaster. The lighting environment is completely different. So what do? You repeat the process. You pick one photo from that bathroom, a new hero image for this new scene. You edit it from scratch, getting the white balance right for the artificial light, pushing the exposure to make it feel bright and clean. Once that one bathroom photo is perfect, you select the other photos from that same bathroom and, you guessed it, you sync those settings across that specific group. You work through the entire house this way in batches, living room batch, kitchen batch, master bedroom batch, bathroom batch. You create one perfect master for each unique lighting situation, and then you apply its DNA to its siblings. This is the assembly line. This is how you scale. So you've done it. You have an entire folder of beautifully edited, consistent, and professional images. The job is done, right? Not quite. We're at the finish line, but we still have to deliver the package. And how we package these files is just as important as how we edited them. We need to export them. Think about it. These raw files are massive. They're full of data, which is great for editing but terrible for the internet. If you send these giant files to your client, they'll have trouble emailing them, and they will load painfully slow on the MLS or Zillow, frustrating potential buyers. We need to create final versions that are optimized for the web, high quality but in a small efficient file size. Back in Lightroom, go to the library module and select all the images from your shoot, every single one you want to deliver. Now go to the bottom left and click the Export button. This opens up the final control panel, the gateway between your hard work and the finished product. Again, it looks like a lot of options, but we can simplify it into a bulletproof recipe. First, export location. Tell Lightroom where to save these final files. I always recommend creating a new subfolder within your project folder called JPGs or Finals. Keep it organized. Next, file naming. You can rename the files on export. A good professional standard is something like address 01, address 02, and so on. So you could use a custom template like custom text -sequence hashtag. It looks clean and is easy for the client to sort. Scroll down to file settings. This is the most critical part. For image format, choose JPEG. It's the universal standard for photos on the web. For color space, you absolutely must choose sRGB. This is the language of the internet. If you use anything else, your colors will look strange and washed out on most web browsers and devices. Trust me on this. sRGB is non-negotiable. Then, you have a quality slider from 0 to 100. It's tempting to crank it all the way to 100, but it's overkill and the file sizes will be enormous. The sweet spot for real estate is typically between 75 and 85. It provides an excellent balance of quality and file size. Next up, image sizing. The MLS, Zillow, and Redfin don't need a gigantic 40-megapixel image. They'll just compress it anyway and probably do a bad job. We want to be in control. Check the resize to fit box. In the drop-down, choose long edge. Then, in the pixels box, a fantastic modern standard is 2048 pixels. This means the longest side of your photo, whether it's horizontal or vertical, will be 2048 pixels. It's plenty of resolution for a beautiful full-screen view on most monitors, but it keeps the file size manageable. Finally, scroll down to output sharpening. This is a secret weapon. You've spent all this time making the image perfect, but when you shrink an image down, it can lose a little bit of its crispness. Output sharpening compensates for that. Check the box to sharpen for, and in the drop-down menu, select Screen. For the amount, Standard is almost always the perfect choice. This adds a final touch of pop and clarity that makes your images look incredibly sharp and professional online. And just like with our developed settings, we can save this as a preset. On the bottom left of the export window, click Add. Name it something memorable like MLS Export or Web Delivery. Now for every future real estate shoot, you can simply select your images, click Export, choose your MLS Export preset and walk away. It's a one-click solution. You hit that export button, and you watch as Lightroom churns through your photos, applying your recipe, and spitting out a folder of perfect, web-ready JPGs. And that's the final piece. That's the entire workflow from start to finish. We took a flat, dark, and uninspired raw file. We corrected its geometry. We balanced the light and color. We made it pop. We built an army from a single edited image. And we packaged it all up into a professional, deliverable product. You now have the complete blueprint. This isn't just a collection of tips. It's a system. A repeatable, efficient, professional system that can be the foundation of a successful business. The skills you've learned right here are the difference between an amateur with a camera and a professional photographer that real estate agents trust and hire again and again. Because you don't just deliver photos, you deliver a consistent, reliable, high-quality product that helps them sell homes. You are a marketing partner. So my challenge to you is this. Don't just watch this. Do it. Take your camera, go shoot a room in your house, and follow this process from beginning to end. Import, cull, develop, sync, and export. Your next photo shoot is your final exam. You have the knowledge. You have the tools. You are now equipped to go out and create stunning real estate photos that stand out. Thank you so much for joining me on this journey. If this guide has helped you, a subscribe to the channel means the world, as we'll be diving into even more advanced topics like flash photography, video walkthroughs, and the business of real estate media. Let me know in the comments what your single biggest takeaway was. Now go make something beautiful.